I get calls all the time from people saying, I'm charged with domestic violence. That's kind of a misunderstanding. Domestic violence itself is not a charge. Domestic violence is a combination of certain charges with certain types of relationships. What I mean is, domestic violence can only occur between people who share a certain relationship. Those people are spouses, people in a dating relationship, or former spouses or people who were formerly dating, as well as people who are cohabitants, meaning living together, or people who used to live together. That can apply to siblings, parents, any relative, anyone you lived with, even college roommates. Domestic violence also requires certain criminal offenses to be involved. The most common offenses are assault, criminal mischief, meaning damaging property, theft, criminal restraint, harassment, and trespass. There are other offenses too that would qualify, but those are the most common. The result of domestic violence can be criminal charges and restraining orders. A victim has a right to a restraining order, but a defendant also has a right to defend against the restraining order to prevent that restraining order from becoming final. In New Jersey, a final restraining order is in fact final and permanent. Some places they only last for 2 years or 10 years. In New Jersey, a restraining order is permanent and only goes away if the victim agrees to have it removed. There are several major consequences to imposition of a restraining order. The first one is difficulty finding jobs. Restraining orders appear on background checks just like criminal charges do. They can be a major problem for finding employment. Another one is the primary issue with a restraining order is you can no longer communicate in any way, shape, or form, not by text, not by phone, not by email or Facebook, not by sending messages through other people, with the victim and with other people protected in the restraining order. That can include children and parents and other people who live with the victim or work with the victim. So it can include a large number of people who you may want to be communicating with. It can also expose you to criminal charges for violating the restraining order. A violation can be based on anything as simple as a text message or any sort of communication with the victim, and there doesn't need to be a lot of evidence in order to trigger a charge. The last thing is the loss of a right to possess a weapon, which can be very important to some people, and this can mean weapons that you already possess can be taken away, and you'd be prevented from buying weapons in the future. From an immigration perspective, a domestic violence charge can result in loss of your permanent residence, denial of citizenship, denial of any sort of legal status, or admission to the United States, even if the criminal charge associated with the domestic violence wouldn't have those consequences standing on its own. So if you're not a United States citizen and you're facing domestic violence, you need to hire a lawyer who's familiar with both the criminal and the immigration consequences of the charge. If you are facing a domestic violence charge or potentially facing a domestic violence charge, you need to hire a lawyer as soon as possible to prevent the loss of evidence and to make sure that all of the consequences are addressed as soon as possible. You can call me anytime to discuss your charge and what I can do to help you avoid these serious consequences.